Hey you guys, it's a rainy day today at the property, which means there's not a lot of opportunity to do much outside, but it decided to take the opportunity to show you a piece or a section of the property that we haven't taken you to before. You know, when we're here, we say, oh, this is our favorite part. We say that almost anywhere we're standing, so which is kind of silly, but thought we'd show you an area that you haven't seen before, and also seeking your advice. Your advice would be super welcome for those of you who have a similar situation on your property as what I'm about to show you. All right, let me flip this around. Okay, so here we are. You're saying walking up a dirt road. More on that later. But this, no matter what the season, is really an area that is really just quite gorgeous. I'm walking along here. You can see, hold on, you can see the leaves are just starting to go, just a little bit, but we're not here to leaf peep. So this is an area that I wish I knew the history. You know, at some point, some farmer decided this was a good idea. And it was a really good idea. And whoever that guy was, we really appreciate it because it is so nice. And you're going to see in just a minute what I'm talking about. You know, do you guys have this sensation on your property? Do you have a favorite spot, or do you just say, wow, this is great, and this is great, and this is great? You know, we're very fortunate that this place is quite pretty. But as I'm walking along, and you're saying, okay, I don't see anything that great, as I'm walking along and approaching this spot that's just so cool, and again, we don't know the history, but as you cut right through this dirt road, which, here's a spoiler, part of that's where we need your advice, but as you cut up the property, this dirt road separates. This side is part of the property, and this side is part of the property. Oh, let me show you something else. This right here, see how this is all grown in? Look at all that. Look at all the trees. Look at all the stuff that's grown in. At some point, believe it or not, in this farm's history, and in fact, Mike remembers this from his childhood, this all used to be a pasture for cows. Can you believe it? Look at how grown in it is. It'd be great to do that again, but I don't know if I don't know if you can win this back from Mother Nature. Look at how much this grew in. Anyway, imagine it. There used to be cows all over here. This entire thing was fenced off. There was a bunch of dairy cows in here because it was a dairy farm. Anyway, all right, so look at this. Is the coolest spot. Look at these trees. Isn't that gorgeous? Running the length of this section of this dirt road on either side. You've got these beautiful, gorgeous trees. And, you know, they're getting up there. Hopefully they last. Hopefully some new ones will pop up to replace them if they get the lightning strike or if they just decide to go. But, you know, trees last a long time. So, isn't it beautiful? There's just this tree-lined road, canopy of trees. It's just so pretty. That's like, it's like a picture out of a Hallmark card or a movie or something, which is very cliche. Anyway, we've never taken you guys here before, and but it is quite gorgeous. The leaves are just starting to go, so very soon this will be just a beautiful stretch of orange and yellow. And for some reason these trees are some of the first that actually fall on the property, maybe because it's gradually going up. But again, it splits it. So this is over there, you can't see because of this embankment that the road wound up being responsible for. And over here, this is all part of the property. But again, the road split. Way back when, former leaders of this township declared it closed. And so it basically became an off-road trail because nobody used it. They said it wasn't a real place to drive. Current administrations in the local government decided that they would open it back up, probably because they get some road money for doing so. And so they've cleaned it up. They've made it mostly flat. The other end farther down, which I won't take you to, which also cuts through our property, gets a little dicey. Sometimes a year you want a Jeep to get through there, not a car. But what do you think, you guys? Isn't this so pretty? Isn't this so pretty? So here's the question. Here's the advice part. And we would be super very appreciative if anybody has this situation on their property on how you've handled it. Because this is a public road that cuts the property in half, you know, we do get people running through here, which, you know, it's a public road. So, you know, get a lot of ATV guys that come screaming down here to get to different parts of the township. You get cars every once in a while, but it doesn't really go very many places. But sometimes you get people who come in and decide it's time to take their ATV over. Hunting season, forget it. Hunting season around here is like a religion. All sorts of people suddenly decide that this property's fair game and it's yours. Now, you know, our dream would be to put in a whole lot of fences, but that would be really expensive. That would be really, really expensive, to say the least. Oh, actually, that makes me remember. Over here, I didn't get to see this. Mike remembers this. I think he remembers this. I'll have to ask him. See these rocks? At some point, can you see that? The leaves are already coming down, so they're kind of hidden. At some point, this entire area was lined with beautiful stone walls. Wouldn't that be so gorgeous? And unfortunately, at some point, somebody dismantled them. Here's a few more remnants. Let me see if you can see these better. Can you see those better? Those are all leftover pieces of what used to be stone walls that line this entire road. Must have been gorgeous. So anyway, little property history. But just curious, do you guys have problems with people trespassing on your property? And how do you deal with it? What do you do about it? You know, if you happen to catch them, you can kind of scare them off and say, what the hell are you doing here? But obviously you're not always here, and you're not always at every single piece of this gorgeous little slice of northeastern Pennsylvania. So let's see, we're almost at the top. This obviously goes down, all the way down for a stretch. See, if you can see that, goes all the way down to the farthest reaches of the property. Just one of our favorite spots. We thought we'd show it. Let me show you one more thing we haven't showed you yet. Let's cut up into here. This little dirt thing is an access road to some guys who own the property that borders this property. So it's on the deed that they can use this for access, which, you know, kind of unfortunate, but it's on the deed, so there's really not much we can do about it. But so this is how the guys next door access their property, which they pretty much don't use for much. They hunt on it I think they hang out on it sometimes, but they don't do that much. But way up here, let me pick up the pace here. Way up here on this section of this access road is, look at this, a silo. This is evidence of its former farming past. Well, the past is former. Little grammar issue there. Look at this. This is the silo. We call this the silo. That's why when we say the silo, we're referring to this whole end. Yep. There used to be a house here, which would have been nice, that somebody burned down. Oh, hold on, my phone's ringing. Cell phone service, even up here. Let's see who it is. Oh, it's Mike. Hold on. Hello, you're joining my video. Oh, sure, I'm way up at the silo. So let me run down and I'll help you. Okay, do I need gloves? Okay, I'll be right down. Oh, that was Mike, you guys. He's out on the other end of the property working on some old John Deere mechanical challenges. I'm sure he'd appreciate advice too. If you look at the channel, he's got all sorts of videos about his work there too. Any advice on how to fix an old John Deere is welcome too. But this is the silo. I don't know if you can see, there's all sorts of weeds in the way, so I'm not going to walk up there. When we talk about people trespassing and kind of being... Okay, these GoPros could drive you nuts. It just shut off on me. Anyway, you'll see on the silo, if you can see this close, and I'm not going into tick land there, but all sorts of bullet holes up and down, because, you know, the people who trespass, like we were talking about before, also like to target shoot, or they did. They don't do it so much anymore when they know we're around. So that's the silo, and this is a quite lovely view from the silo. You can't really see it as well because it's cloudy, but it is really pretty this here too, this way too. As I said, depending where we're standing, you know, we think it's the nicest spot, so it's hard to decide. You can't see them in the clouds. One unfortunate thing is they decided way over on that mountain, which I don't know if you can see it in the clouds, way over on that mountain somebody decided to put windmills. So on a nice day, you can see windmills way over there. Not a big fan. You know, they require lots of metal and energy and some oil to lubricate. So how green are they? How much are they helping us? Anyway, so give us some advice. There's your tour of a part of the property you've never seen before. And let us know what you think. I really would appreciate your thoughts on the trespassing and what to do with this township road that we obviously can't get rid of because it's a township road. And in the meantime, why don't you just enjoy with me some of these just changing leaves as we start to walk in the direction of heading back down. You know, rainy days are great days to just slow down, think and contemplate, you know, plan, and just not worry about hustling to finish a project. Of course, that's not true if you're under shelter and trying to save an old John Deere tractor that decided it wasn't going to start. So, road advice, old John Deere advice. It's something with the fuel system, Mike tells me. I don't know much about that kind of stuff, which is a very girly thing to say. But here we go. Enjoy the road as we walk down to see if we can help Mike with his project. That's why he called. All right. Enjoy the view, and we'll see you later. Thanks for watching.